The cost of the average car repair is rising at a ridiculous rate, and when a big bill happens to you, you do not want to be left in a panic. I'm the Car Money Guy, and I'm going to take you through my repair bill decision process so that you don't rush into a decision that you end up regretting later. So the first thing you need to do when you get hit with a big repair bill is understand the problem. Take a breath, don't decide anything until you're sure of the facts. So, with a cool head on, don't be afraid to get a second opinion. Make some phone calls and consider paying for some diagnostic work elsewhere. I'd recommend going for a specialist in your particular car brand. You might find that they give the same diagnosis, in which case you'll feel more confident about the issue actually getting fixed. Another thing that can happen is that they propose a different method to solve the same problem, maybe using aftermarket parts which are slightly cheaper, or repairing rather than replacing. It might take the cost down, but be aware of any drawbacks. Or they provide a different diagnosis altogether. The whole idea here is to avoid misdiagnosis, where you're told to spend a load of money only for the problem to remain after. This can happen when dealing with a mechanic that doesn't work on your exact model day to day. Getting a second opinion helps avoid you spending money on pointless repairs. Yes, you'll usually have to pay for diagnostic work, but it won't feel like money wasted. You'll feel more confident that you've gotten to the root cause of the problem. You might get a cheaper quote, and it helps to suss out the best garage for the job. In fact, I'm putting together a video on how to find a mechanic you can actually trust, so if you want to catch that, hit the subscribe button. So, once you have your best quote, it's time to reflect. What was your plan for this car? Keep it for 1, 2, 3 years? Was this a forever car? How do you feel about that plan today? Is it a car you still like? Can you still see yourself driving it in 2, 3 years' time? Do you still trust it? If you share the car, how do the other drivers and passengers feel? Does it still fit their needs, and will it do so in the future? Think of kids appearing on the scene, kids getting older, or leaving the nest entirely. Okay, so we've got our diagnosis and thought about how the car is doing its job today. If you're thinking of fixing the car, think ahead as to how much more this car is likely to cost you in the near future. Do some research. Does your car have common faults? And is this one of them that's going to get ticked off? How many other big faults are there? Aside from faults, are there any big scheduled maintenance jobs still to come? Check your service record to see what's coming up. Things like major services, cam belt replacements, these can cost several £100s. If the issue is fixed, is it likely to come back? Take body rust, for example. Fixing one area may prolong the life of the car temporarily, but other areas will slowly appear over time. How long are you happy to keep patching and fixing? Now, we understand the costs, let's consider your cash flow. If you pay for the work, where's the money coming from? How much of a reserve fund are you going to be left with? It's advised you keep 3 to 6 months worth of earnings in hand in case of emergencies. And this might be your emergency if you need that car working as soon as possible. But if you can avoid it, you don't want to be left with no emergency fund. That puts a lot of personal risk on you. By this stage, you might have an idea whether you want to keep the car or sell it, or maybe you're still undecided. If you're weighing up your options, it's time to get a spreadsheet going. Let's consider the first option, sell the car as it is. You might struggle to sell privately to an individual, but car dealers are going to be interested. They can fix issues cheaper than you, so it's often in your interests to sell the car that way financially, rather than paying profits on a repair job and then selling. My advice, if selling with a fault, is be transparent. Deliberately hiding issues and flogging the car for more than it's worth is just screwing someone else over, whether that's a dealer or the next buyer. It's tough for everyone right now. So if you're considering selling the car as is, get a few quotes. get in contact with car dealers local to you. In the UK, dealer auction sites like Motorway and Car Wow let you sell to dealers online. So get some reserve prices, either fixed, sold as seen with the fault, and compare the two. Next up is option 2. Fix the car and sell it on. Now, this could be an option if you're open to selling privately yourself, and you can afford the initial cash flow hit to get the repairs done. You will get more money selling privately, but you want to make sure that it's worth doing financially. First, how much could you expect to sell the car privately if the car is fixed? To do that, check prices online of cars with similar age, spec, and mileage being sold privately. This means cars sold by individuals, not by dealerships. Once you know the value selling privately, it's time to do the maths. You want to know, if you did pay to get the car fixed, would it be financially worth selling privately? Here's an example. The average offer from car dealers to buy your car as it is, faults included, is £7,000. If similar cars are selling privately for £10,000 fully fixed, and the cost to fix the car is £1,000, you'd be £2,000 better off getting it fixed and selling it yourself if you're comfortable doing this. A note about selling: if you were to sell the car, what would you go for instead? Would changing car give you benefits that your current car can't offer? More load space, better safety, reduced fuel spends, lower tax, etc. Could you get a car with a warranty to help protect you from big bills? If buying another car out of warranty, have you got enough in your reserve fund if the next car has issues? You never know what the next car might have in store for you, so be prepared. With regard to selling, we should also talk about finance. If you took the car out in finance, what's your situation? How long's left on the agreement, and what are the costs to settle? These costs can be made up of the remaining credit, how much there is to pay back, and any costs to settle the agreement early. If you need to hand the car back, budget for any mileage overages or damage. You'll need to take these costs out of your budget for a replacement car. Finally, option 3, the option to fix and keep your current car. So let's have a think. Does fixing the car change your original plan in terms of how long you'll keep it? If this fix isn't a hard line to stop investing in the car, what is? For example, no more bills over £1,000. This is the kind of decision to make when the car is becoming uneconomical to keep on the road anymore. All cars have a natural life, and restoration is not an option for most people. Now, some say that if the repair exceeds the value of the car, it's not worth repairing. Even if the repair is 50% of the value, some say it's not worth it. Honestly, it's a tough call. For more expensive cars, I'd agree, and I'd consider selling to a car dealer with the fault in this case. For cheaper cars, worth around maybe £1,000, if it's a car you know and has been reliable, it may well be worth it. Buying another car of similar value at that end of the market opens up a whole world of unknowns. As a reminder, you can always repair now and assess later. Just make sure that fixing the car leaves enough in your reserve fund if things don't work out. One final consideration. What's peace of mind worth to you? If this is the car you rely on, you want to be confident that whatever you're driving is going to be dependable. If your current car has been fantastic and this is just a bump in the road, it could be better the devil you know. If your car has been nothing but trouble, it's understandable if your level of trust is simply run out. Now, before I tell you my story, I want to mention the worksheet I've put together to go with this video. It's called the Car Build Decision Toolkit, and it walks you through every step we've covered today. Space to log your quotes, work out your numbers, and weigh up your options side by side. It's the clearest way to get everything out of your head and lay it in front of you so you can make a decision you're confident in. Download it for free using the link in the description below. Now, my story. So, I bought a Mazda 6 petrol, a car with a reputation for being very reliable. After a year, it developed a leaking injector that caused multiple other issues, and I got hit with a £2,000 bill. And I chose to suck it up because I liked the car. Then, when I drove it home, we realized the catalytic converter was also toast. The cost to replace that was basically another £2,000. Now that second bill was a bit of a wake-up moment. I had to weigh up whether fixing the car would leave me with a car that is sorted for years, or whether I could end up nearly £4,000 deep with potentially even more bills to follow. Ultimately, with other things going on in life, like setting up this YouTube channel, I needed financial predictability, even if it might cost me more in the long run. So I'll be selling it and leasing a new car for a while, which is a new adventure for me. It's not the right decision for everyone, but right now it feels like the right decision for me. I hope this video has been useful. Download the Car Build Decision Toolkit using the link below, and subscribe to the Car Money Guy channel for more videos like this one. I'll see you in the next video.